So here we are in Republic of Rome. Rome just survived the First Punic War, but they're still being raided for the Second Punic War. We don't know what else is coming up this turn in the deck. What we do know is that this guy, the hero of the First Punic War, Fabius, has enough influence to get himself elected consul for life, which wins you the game. Now, he put all his money and is hoping for the shot to get that vote. Enough other people have put money out, including the guy with the huge shipbuilding concession. He has 30 out. Some of these others have money out to prevent him from winning. This was all done kind of secretly at the same time in a game. So had he gotten lucky, there might just not have been enough money to stop him. Now it looks unlikely. He'll probably run, try to get people to burn money. Maybe disagreement will come up or something. Maybe somebody will try an assassination instead, whatever. But that's what he wants to aim for. However, we still do have the problem of the Second Punic War, which threatens Rome, and whatever else comes out this turn. There's a huge army, which the decent revenue that Rome made got cut significantly down, but it's not like they have anything to spend money on. They have bought nearly all their military units. They can buy the remaining 5. The only thing that would hurt them is a disaster that, culled their army. But they should have enough to handle this. Not so sure if the Third Punic War comes out. I don't think that's in this deck. I think that's in the second deck. So they should be able to handle just about anything that shows up. So we're going into the population phase, and let me explain what happened before I roll that very quickly. One of the things, we got an event of manpower shortage that's going to make any troops more expensive to pay. Another is the Macedonian War showed up. That requires a significant naval commitment as well as a fight. It may make sense for the Romans to try to fight both of them at once. Okay, on to the important stuff, because this guy is still somewhat of a danger. So, he went first and was able to grab Valerius, but then this, gave him $3 extra and a couple extra votes. This guy played a seduction card, threw a lot of money in, and swung those back over. It really looks unlikely that this is going to happen, but there's going to be an attempt. At this point, now comes the real question. He's a really, really valuable leader still. Is it worth, and people can calculate out the money and see, is it worth giving him a consul so that he can run off and fight one of these 2 wars? He can't be dictator. We don't have enough problems for that. None of the wars are over 20 and there's only 2 of them. Alright, well, let's, his huge popularity of 10 gives a +8 to this die roll, and that gives us a 14, 20, something like that. Unrest drops completely. We have 2 wars to cope with, though. And the Senate has to figure out what it's going to do. Okay, so good old Fabius forced the issue. He played a tribune. Actually, a couple of them were played. He played a tribune to force the vote. He spent all his money. This guy had $30 on him that he was willing to spend because he's about to die. It ended up coming down to a couple more bucks having to be spent. Everyone else voting against. He lost the vote. Not by a lot, there was plenty of money left that could have forced the issue beyond that, but that's where we stand. And then the rest of the army, no, they didn't. Oh, they bought the rest of the army as they could, which was 3 more armies. That cost them $60. There's still a few left they couldn't buy. Split up as well as they could to send Aemilius after the Second Punic War, and Cornelius after the First Macedonian War. All right, well, let's see what we need here. First of all, this is just naval coverage, so it's fine. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 19. He's at +7. Not perfect, but it's not a horrible number. He rolls a 12, which is a disaster, and that sucks. Half his army and half his fleet are going to die, and something I forgot last time, I gotta draw for every loss from there. Okay, so here's the first problem. We had a disaster, which goes up 1. This is just going to be active because it's currently prosecuted. I've got to draw some chits to see if good old Cornelius dies. If he does, it's for good because he's not the faction leader. And I also have to apportion the losses. So Cornelius died in that disaster, and Rome is going to have to send a new leader there or withdraw those troops. Right now it counts as a prosecuted war, though, from what I can tell. Let's look at what comes over here for the Punic War. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Plus 4 is only 15. 2, 4. Yep. So I'm at even against that. Bad numbering. I should have only gone against one war. I thought I was going to be able to do better than this. 9, 12. 12 is not a bad number for this. Too bad that I don't have any pluses, because just +2 would have gotten me a victory. But instead I get a stalemate. It's going to be one of each lost. No, I'm sorry, 2 legions, 2 fleets, right? Or no, one of each. Yeah, one of each. 1 legion, 1 fleet. And let's take a look to see if we lose Aemilius. Yeah, 19, he's dead too. And that's again a real death. So both consuls have died on this turn and will be disappearing. On top of that, some of these are lost. One might be, well, one of those is lost. It may be an elite legion, in which case I'll take care of that as well. Alright, not a good day for Rome. So we head into the form phase here with Rome in some serious trouble. One player in particular is beginning to look unpleasant to the other players. This guy over here. Everyone else who had a decent amount of cash paid it, and I gotta remember, to keep Rome from going bankrupt. Everybody loses if it goes bankrupt. This guy refused to pay. The other people who had cash, first, second, and sixth player, each threw in $10. It's not enough to really make Rome safe. Rome, as long as it is less than 50, is always in danger of just collapsing due to a random event. This isn't enough money for Rome, not facing these 2 wars and whatever might come up, but it's what they did. We also have all the old men have died off. Very, very many senatorial families are in this pile now. Sulpicius, he was alone before, but here only Furius, we have 3 here. He's got to move another one over to Aelius, so that keeps people at risk. Here are a couple of lousy leaders, the Pontifex Maximus. We lost both consuls in battle. Now the Pontifex Maximus is dead. There's only one person eligible to be censor. That's Aelius. Anybody else cannot have it. Now, I think that there's a rule if no one can have it, that you make somebody able to have it temporarily. Over here, one other option would be to recall Quinticus and make him the censor, because he is also eligible. That would be a risky operation, though. So, and we're seeing many, many less people. In fact, we're near the limit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 senators in Rome, that is the limit. So if one more gets lost, somebody gets the top senator off here. Because there always has to be a certain 8 of them available. And the guy out in Sicily doesn't count. And as we start sending people off to these, new senatorial families are going to be minted. Big problem though. At least one of those wars has to be defeated. The deck's getting smaller. There's still a lot of wars in here. Some of them will match up and cause bigger problems. Something's got to be done. I'm not sure what Rome's chances are now. They looked very bright before last turn, really. But last turn turned out really bad. Both with the wars coming out, well, the turn before actually. The wars coming out, the leader in danger of making a tyranny of the country and destroying the republic. And now it's really teetering. Well, things aren't great, but they aren't terrible. One little weird bit happened. Who do we get here? Me, Claudius. Claudius showed up. And that was back on his turn. He made an attempt to get him. And this guy threw money out of his faction treasury to prevent that. And it was pretty much, you know, 4 or less. So it was pretty likely to fail. But then it came to this guy. He had enough cash on Valerius to raise it to a 10. That was just a mistake on this guy's part. He should not have been trying to prevent that. I don't know why he thought he was going to get the character, but he didn't want to improve this guy's strength. On the other hand, he ended up helping the one person that everybody is kind of hating, and everybody's kind of glaring at him and saying, "Whoa, what's up with that?" In addition, giving him $5 that he threw into the fight. The other thing that came up, I think over on his turn, was another war, the Syrian War. Now this is not a tough war. It's got poor numbers, fairly low value. I think the Romans can take 2 wars on, even with their low cash and other problems. There's 3 wars in existence, which means that they can create a dictator. That's also very cool. That will improve their chances slightly. Right now, we're at the population phase, though, and the censor is the highest ranked officer. He has no bonus and a penalty. Things could get worse based on this. That's not a high roll. Okay, so we totaled a 6. That cannot be good. That's 4 unrest. 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's not as bad as it might have been. It's no manpower shortage or no recruitment or mob or anything like that. It doesn't really hurt Rome, but it does create some long-term problems that are going to have to be dealt with. If Rome had money, they could be considering land builds. They don't have money. They're going to have to start throwing games and stuff like that. And that's tough in this game because of my optional rule. Okay, well, I'm not sure how this is going to fall out at all. I do not know how they're going to negotiate this. This guy's got a strong negative feeling amongst the other players. This guy had a strong positive because he threw in a lot of money, but he has a lot of money. He threw in a lot of money earlier on preventing this guy from just getting a win off of Consul for Life. We're going to see how these things shake out. Maybe some sort of alliance is going to happen. There are not a hell of a lot of votes, and this guy has 11, which is a pretty potent swing of them. What do we have total? 21, 24, 25, 26. He's got 11 out of 26. That means if he allies with anyone, no, with one of 2 people, or with both the 2-point people, he can get this. But my guess is the players are going to try to save Rome more than anything else. So the Senate phase was over, and the negotiation wasn't that tough. Basically, the guy with all the votes said, "I want to be dictator. Give Julius the dictatorship." And he convinced Fabius and Acilius that that was fine. Fabius could be field consul, Acilius can be Rome consul. He chose Master of Horse, the guy who did the kind of weird thing, just because he's a decent military leader and dragging him along is less risky than dragging Furius along. Of course, he has a lot of cash on him, but them's the breaks. Next action, he exiled Claudius and Fulvius as a pair off. Actually, the next action he tried was to try to make Furius Pontifex Maximus. And Valerius chimed in with a tribune and said, no, that's not going to happen. Valerius was the only remaining person. The only other option, if no one else was available, would be to recall Quinticus. This floated. It can't be vetoed because he's the only option. So, he became Pontifex Maximus. In reaction, they banished Claudius and Fulvius to governorships. Governorships aren't necessarily terrible, but they definitely weaken your position overall, I'd say. Then an attempt was made to hand out all the concessions, but the poor guy in Sicily, who had no votes, was not offered one, and he tribuned. If concessions are tribuned, the entire set that is being offered cannot be re-offered in that form, in that Senate phase. So they have to wait for the next turn, and one of the biggies is the shipbuilding concession. Division of forces and positioning for the wars. It's been decided the Second Punic War is going to be ignored. They're going to go after the Macedonian War, and that's going to be Julius going after that. It's the riskier of the two wars, but it's got the higher payoff. The Syrian War, we're going to send Fabius off to that, the young Fabius. And they basically have the same bonuses on there. It's a less risky war. Julius wanted to take the riskier one to show how much of a true Roman he really is. He's also going to haul his Master of Horse with him. Okay, well, let's start taking these, let's take the battles into account, because... So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12. I hope that's right. I spilled a die in. Okay. 12 against 6, that gives me plus 6. I've got the 2 fleets there. Oh, that's not that good. 14. It is a victory. It's going to be 4 legions and 4 fleets. That's a pretty heavy loss. I'll take care of that and come back and show you what happened. Okay, so there are now only 2 elite legions, but that's a success. The points have been, the unrest has been decreased. You have 45 in the treasury. He has gotten 3 influence and 3 popularity off defeating a 6-point war. Nothing gets created from it, but it's going to get rid of the war. He's not going to revolt, so I'm just going to hand back these legions. There's no way that he'll revolt with 2 legions. And that war is just gone. Okay, now let's go to the other, the more important one, the Macedonian War. What do we have here? Well, those are the navies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's what the war's worth. And then an additional 7, so I'm plus 7 instead of just plus 6. But this is a tougher war to fight. And that's not a good roll. That's a 5. 5 and 7 is 12. 12 is a stalemate, 1 legion, 1 fleet. I'll take a fleet. And then I got to determine a legion. And let me draw the 2 deaths. One of those legions is going to become a veteran. 25 isn't a problem. This is how you determine death in combat, same way as you determine it elsewhere. The only people who are able to die are the people who are actually in that battle. Okay, so there's not going to be a death. I just have to figure out which legion is there. And Julius is there as dictator. He could be reinforced later and left there. Actually, I'm not sure a dictator can be. I think only a consul can be left as a proconsul. All right. I'll come back at the end of the turn because there's some card play going to happen too. Okay, so actually almost nothing happened. Everybody looked at their cards and nobody actually wants to play one. I was semi-incorrect. I guess indecision always makes it that way. From what my reading, you can leave the dictator there as a proconsul. It can be any commander. So his forces are still there. A Master of Horse is not in Rome yet, but he might as well be. He's not really commanding these forces. If a proconsul is made, he has to leave. So I don't know. Anyway, be at the start of a new turn, and Rome is not doing much better. That was standoff doesn't cost them, but the unprosecuted war cost them 1. All right, so hey, let me make sure I didn't owe some. I don't owe somebody some senators. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We gotta produce 4 more senators. This should have happened earlier. Who has the fewest active senators and least influence in Rome? Okay, fewest active senators is going to be one of these 4 people who only has 1. Who has the least influence in Rome? Well, he has 0. So he gets the top card. He gets Junius. Okay, now he has 3 influence in Rome. He has 0. Okay, well, we diced off. He gets Manlius. Alright, so now we have a 3. And but they don't have the least senators. We have 2 people with less. He's got a 9. He gets Terentius. And then the 4th and final one comes over here with Plautius. Okay, so now we have enough senators in Rome. And some of these factions are a little stronger than they were before. And now I get to clear it up and send it up to you. Yay.